Hey, welcome to the coaches meeting. That's the coach.
What's
I'm
going on,
Grant
guys?
Cohn. We usually do this show on Thursdays,
Thursdays.
but we're doing it Friday today because the Niners position coaches talked yesterday, and I did my best to put that all on camera so you guys could watch. Coach has seen it. You guys have seen it. We're going to sort of react to Brian Griese, Bobby Turner, Chris Kaserick. But first, we want to start with this quarterback competition that's kind of a sham a little bit. I mean, look, Coach, you can take it away, but the topic is why Kyle Shanahan should be, at least, tied to Trey Lance, even though he's acting like he's not.
Right. I think that it's time. I said this a couple of times, Ig, but I think that it's time for us to elevate the conversation. And right now, what we're doing is we're being I feel like there's a bait and switch going on with what we as fans want, and that's information. And a quarterback competition keeps us at the edge of wanting information. But wanting information about a quarterback competition also diverts your focus. And what it does is it keeps you paying attention to the continuous drip, to watch. It's almost like watching paint dry, where you can't.
Trey started. Sam started. Trey started. Like, okay, doesn't matter.
And it's decision fatigue. It's way too much information that we think we can handle. And in the age of content, none of us know when we're getting too much information, especially as fans, because we get so little of it. I believe that. Let me just break down what they're trying to say as a quarterback competition. A quarterback competition is when you have all parties involved prepared to compete at an equal level. We do not have that. Okay. What we have is we have a rookie. We have a third-year quarterback coming into his third year who we spent 3 first-round draft picks on. And we were explicitly told that this was not a Band-Aid. This was not an upgrade.
The future.
This was the future. This was a generational pick. Now we have another stock part that we picked up as in a quarterback
off the scrap heap.
In the seventh round. Okay. And he came through and he saved us. All right. We showed how much faith that we had in this player by keeping our incumbent quarterback who was supposed to be gone. That's how much faith that we had in Brock before he actually saved our bacon. We got to give it to him. He saved our bacon. And now we have a retread. We have a retread young quarterback who has struggled with every team he has come in with. And now he is learning the system on the fly. Okay. That is the situation. Okay. And I feel like this quarterback competition is diverting us away from the real questions and the real conversation, which is Kyle. What have you done thus far with the quarterback who you spent 3 first-round picks on? And where is he in comparison to starting today on week 1 versus when you got him hurt in week 2? Okay. It's time for the fans to realize that we are not at the service of the 49ers. We are in a partnership with the 49ers. They do not play if we do not watch. We fill the seats. We watch the games. We click on the ads. We buy the foam fingers. Right now, our organization got fronted by our partner, our head coach, and we're trying to reach a goal. Our partner told us, hey, we're coming up on this goal and we're not necessarily getting over the hump. Let's, instead of us trying to simply meet the goal, let's overshoot the goal and let's future-proof our competition. This is going to carry us for years to come. So he got with the owners and they spent assets ahead to get them in the position to get this part. Now, we ingested this equipment into our organization, okay? And this equipment did not have in-house subject matter experts to calibrate it correctly. We need to admit that. We did not have in-house development, and along the way, we brute forced this equipment and we broke it multiple times, okay? And now that we're coming into our third year, this equipment has come in with its own calibration. Now it can be utilized the right way. But along the way, we had a stock part that we picked up along with the acquisition. And that stock part got us across the finish line.
Yeah.
Real
quick. We had this conversation on the phone yesterday. You're essentially laying out like a racing analogy, and it's great. And you're talking about a quarterback as like the key piece in a part, and you're talking about like these companies, Lamborghini, Ferrari, that are
these
competing
F1 companies, these are
yeah.
highly tuned machines that all can drive 300 miles an hour. Okay,
and so you're trying to chase tenths of a second. Tenths of a second. Yeah.
Whole teams dedicate entire years and off seasons to tenths of a second.
And that's what the Niners are trying to do, essentially, to get over the hump. Like, you've been second, you've been third, you've been fourth. Yeah.
That's what placing is all about. And we need to elevate the conversation and keep the focus on what is truly going to get us, not for one time to place, but this is supposed to catapult us to who we once were. Okay?
Yeah.
Only bad teams would cling to 8 games. That's what bad teams do. All right. I would expect
desperate, bad, low standards, all of it.
I would expect the Commanders to catch flash in the pan and get an 8-game win season, and then for them to bicker over who's going to do the quarterback situation. That's for them. That's for the Browns. That's for the Texans.
The Eagles wouldn't do that.
That's not for us.
Dude, the Eagles won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and they were like, "Thanks, Nick, but we see you for who you are."
Thank you, but we have a standard.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, thanks.
And we're not going to get caught up in the moment. We're not going to be emotionally hijacked. And the problem,
it was their first championship ever, and they were like, "Thanks, Nick, great. Well, I mean, we'll build you a statue or something, but come on, you're not our starting quarterback."
Let's stick to the scenario.
Yeah,
we have a stock engine or a stock part that got us to the same level of success than we did the last time. But let's be honest, we're scared shitless that we even made it. Okay. And along the way, that part broke. Okay. So now we're back inside the garage and we have 2 parts. We have the exceptional part that we spent all of this investment on, that we have to admit that we broke, that we had calibration issues with, but this is the original plan. This is what we spent the money on.
There was nothing wrong with the part. It was something wrong with us. We just we didn't have the tools to use the part. Like, we didn't know how to use the part. It was beyond us. It was beyond us. Yeah.
So much so that there was somebody who actually helped that is beyond us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Jeff Christensen. So we got to own that. All right.
We had to outsource. It's Jeff fix this. Okay.
Come on.
Sure.
So now we're in a position where we're about to start our season again. And what do we have one half of the garage saying, well, dude, we already embarrassed ourselves flatly by putting this part out there because everybody knows we're using this new part. So the expectations on us to win are through the roof now. We have no excuse. But we do get to show off the ingenuity and the resourcefulness of our garage if we get back on the court, if we get back on the track with our stock part. Because everybody
that we got from Amazon.
We're playing with one hand behind our back, all right?
Right.
But
it's so impressive.
The smartest man in the room says, now listen, the one thing you're missing is that although we don't know the duration of our expensive part, our expensive equipment, we do know that this stock engine broke in half of a season.
Yep.
Okay? So are we going to go back and try to do an entire season and double down on what we just did? And we know that this stock part failed on it broke. So,
it's repaired. It's a repaired stock part. You know what I'm saying? It had surgery. It could break again quicker.
And then we got everybody over here talking about how great gas mileage it gets and how much, how more efficient it was.
How efficient, how cheap it is. How you can spend on other parts because you're not spending on this part.
We can get new spoilers. We can keep our brand new tires.
We can get spinners. The car stops and the wheels keep spinning. That's amazing.
That's what we need. We can overpay on our headlights. That barely
We can get a goldfish in the middle of the console.
Come on. Oh,
we can take it to exhibit.
We can get the brand new tinted windows that ask for a trade in the middle of the off season and come back and show up out of shape. We can overpay for all of this stuff, or we can have this awesome chassis that's once in a lifetime that we know has been playing for almost 15 years and is going to retire at any minute. So We need to understand that Super Bowl teams that are good don't have quarterback competitions at the beginning of the season.
No.
It does not work that way.
No.
Okay? So let me tell you what Kyle Shanahan is signing up for by attaching himself to a franchise quarterback. Okay? Tom Landry and Roger Staubach, 11 years. Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, 10 years. Don Shula and Don Marino, 11 years. Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning, 7 years. Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, 11 years. Okay? Out of Tom Landry and Roger Staubach, 2 Super Bowls. Bill and Joe, 4 Super Bowls. Don Shula and Marina, none. Tony Dungy and Peyton, 1. Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, 1. What we are signing up for is a journey to get 1 to 2 Super Bowls and maybe get some appearances. But we're sitting here thinking that we got the best Super Bowl roster because we've got this beautiful window. That ain't it.
Yeah.
That ain't it. Okay? Yeah. So let's go on the Brock Purdy side of things. Okay? Let's do it. Let's do it their way, Grant. All right? So, with Brock Purdy, he would be a second-year starting quarterback, right? Out of the history of the NFL, right? Yeah. We're in the NFL, correct? Out of the history of the NFL, there are 6 quarterbacks to go to the Super Bowl in their second year, okay? Dan Marino, Kurt Warner, Tom Brady, Colin Kaepernick, Russell Wilson, and Ben Roethlisberger. Out of those 6, 3 made it to the Super Bowl, okay? And 1. I mean, 3 won the Super Bowl. Okay,
Wilson, Roethlisberger, and Brady.
Russell, Roethlisberger, and Brady. Okay? Yeah. All of the quarterbacks that I named started week 1. Okay?
Yeah.
All right? They started week 1, except Colin Kaepernick. So let's stay there for a second. In 2012, Colin Kaepernick went to the Super Bowl as a second-year quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, correct? We played Baltimore in that game. Can't forget, right?
Yep.
In that season, okay, let me tell you how a head coach lynches his legacy to his quarterback. This is how you double down. This is how you buy in on a quarterback, okay? And you don't start a fake quarterback competition so you can have distance. One would think that Colin Kaepernick ended up starting in I believe that was week 8 after their bye, okay? After Colin Kaepernick started, one would say, if you would think about it, man, the Niners must have been struggling. No, they were 6-2. The Niners were 6-2. Let me tell you what had to be going through Jim Harbaugh's mind as a coach who really wants to win. Week 1, we saw Green Bay. We won that game. All right. We won 30-23. Okay. But who did we see in that game? We saw A-Rod in that game. A-Rod threw for 303 yards. Alex Smith threw for 211 yards. Okay. Week 2, we saw Detroit in that game. We saw Matt Stafford. We won 27-19. Matt Stafford threw for 320 yards. Alex Smith threw for 226 yards in a win. Okay. Week 3, we lost to Minnesota.
That's right, Christian Ponder.
And we lost to Christian Ponder, okay?
Right. Yeah.
And Alex Smith threw for 226 yards, and Christian Ponder threw for 320 yards. You see what happens when you go for the median? You see what happens? All right, let's keep going. Maybe that was an anomaly. Week 4, we see the Jets. We beat their ass 34-0, okay?
Oh, yeah.
We see Mark Sanchez. And even in Mark Sanchez's game, the Christian Ponder game was 204 to 198. Alex Smith threw for 204 yards. Christian Ponder threw for only 198, and we lost that game. Okay? The defense did their job. We lost that game. Okay? Week 4, we see Mark Sanchez. We win that game. Alex Smith throws for 143. Mark Sanchez barely gets a buck, 103. Week 5, we see the Bills. We see Ryan Fitzpatrick. This is Alex Smith's best game. He throws for 303 yards. We win 45-3. All right.
Mhm.
The Giants, we lost.
That was the one. That was alarming because Alex Smith had flopped against the Giants in the NFC Championship game just a few months before then.
Give me context, Iggy.
Yeah, so like they lost again, and that team faded. But at that point, the Niners didn't know that the Giants were going to fade, and I think they thought, man, we're going to see them again in the playoffs, and Alex Smith can't beat them. He can't beat him. He can't beat him.
And
so that's where they were at.
Eli Manning throwing 193 yards. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about, tenths of a second. Okay.
Yeah.
This is tenths of a second thinking.
Then a few weeks later, I think they put up like 12 or 13 points against Seattle in a win. That was the end of that was close to the end for Alex right there.
Yes. And 13-6, we beat Seattle.
13-6. Yeah. Yeah.
We beat Seattle. Russell Wilson only put up 122. Alex Smith put up 140.
And that was that was Russell Wilson's like 7th start or something. He really improved.
He was amazing. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Then this is the one. We win 24-3 against Arizona, right?
Right. And I think Alex Smith was like 17 of 18 or something like that. It was crazy.
18 for 19.
18 for 19. Yeah.
Right.
He was the player of the week. Was he not the NFC player of the week? I think he was. Yeah.
232 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0
Randy
picks.
Moss down the left. I remember. Yep.
One of his best games.
Yeah, he was locked in. Yeah.
However, John Skelton was 32 for 52 for 290. Okay.
Yeah.
And we won that game. Now, this is what tenths of a second thinking is. We had a bye week. And Coach Harbaugh could have sat back and said, we're 6-2. Got a good defense. Fans are happy. Everything's good. We got Colin here, but I really don't know what this kid is going to do in the raw. And if he fails, I got to own it, right?
Yeah.
What does he do? He starts Colin.
Well, what happens is Alex Smith got hurt. Alex Smith started against the Rams. He got concussed. Colin comes in and plays all right, and Jim Harbaugh used the opportunity to start Colin.
Thank you. Use the opportunity.
That's what happened.
And then it was in a tie game, 24-24.
It was a tie game.
Yeah, Colin went for like 11 for 17 for like 120 or something.
He was cool. A lot of people thought Alex Smith was coming back the next week, and I think Harbaugh, I think even Alex Smith thought he was coming back the next week, and Harbaugh was like, no, you're not ready. At the last minute, and he started Colin, and everyone thought he was going to come out with a real conservative game plan against the Bears, run. It was 20-yard throw, 20-yard throw, 20-yard throw, and Harbaugh made his point, and Kaepernick made his point right there. Like, the offense is different now.
Yeah.
It's different now.
I feel like out of all of the things that disturbs me about what the organization is trying to tell us is that they're trying to get us to believe something that has rarely been done.
Yep.
It has rarely succeeded. And what's hilarious is that God don't like ugly. So we found the 2012 season of where the coach who was here doubled down on his guy and played him.
Yeah.
So the only anomalies that we really should be paying attention to is 2012, where we did the right thing. Yeah. And we had tenth of a second thinking. So go.
And to your point, like you don't get to mortgage the future for a player and then get him injured and then pivot away from him because you found like the younger, cheaper version of the guy you were pivoting away from originally. Like you just got Jimmy Garoppolo Jr.
And then try to sell it as if
you can't do that.
All got an equal opportunity to succeed. Yeah, we're all going to see. Well, this is the thing. I asked the question yesterday on the show. Let's do it. Let's do it the Brock way. Let's do it John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's way. Let's do it their way. Brock starts week 1. How long is his leash if he starts to struggle?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
How long is that leash? All right. Because however long that leash is how much faith they had in those 8 games that he played.
Right.
All right. And another thing, the players don't know what's going on with quarterback. Okay. They don't know. All right. They're not in on it. They have a feel. The real person, and that's another thing. We're waiting on what the players don't know. Kyle should know.
Right.
The coaching staff should know.
Also, like if they have this quarterback competition and then just throw Brock Purdy out there week 1, you're really saying to both Trey and Sam, like, you guys both lost. Like, we would rather play Brock Purdy with very little preparation than either one of you. So, okay, that's fine. And you go all in with Brock. What if he hasn't shown he can play a full season? What if he gets hurt again and he misses time? And now you got to go back to one of those quarterbacks that you basically said you don't trust. I mean, they're going to have less confidence than they had now.
And I agree, Grant. And what's crazy about this is that if we're going low-hanging fruit, right? If we're having the discussion they want us to have, it's tribal. It's Sam versus Trey versus Ian Rappaport said this versus this guy said that.
Pick your side.
It's a soup of mess. All right. It's not a high-level argument. It's not a good conversation. But for those of people who are on the Brock side, how much do you care about the kid? Do you want him to play week 1 and get hurt again? Right? Because ultimately, we all want the same thing. I haven't heard anybody talk about Brock Purdy in a 1-year capacity. The people that like Brock Purdy want him to be here for the long haul.
Right.
Okay? And all I'm saying is that even if that is the side of the coin that you fall on, you don't want him out there week 1. And what they're doing is disingenuous.
Well, that's why I don't think he's going to be out there week 1. I feel like they're not really telling us the truth. I mean, Brian Griese even said yesterday, like, there's no reason to rush this, which I think that's how they feel. Like, they can project confidence and say, oh, he's ahead of schedule, he's doing great, but at the same time, there's no reason to rush it. So what I want to do now is talk about the different position coaches, starting with Brian Griese. His interview yesterday was really interesting. So all the position coaches come into that big auditorium, and most of them sit down in a seat, and you kind of just, Chris Kaserick stood up on the side. Brian Griese positioned himself in the back, and a lot of people went to talk to him, and he sort of like kind of cornered himself, and he was like talking behind his shoulder. It was very strange body language, and he was trying to sort of not answer questions because he has explosive. I mean, they're explosive questions. He's answering questions about the quarterback competition.
There's implications with every question he's asked.
Yeah, so he's trying to like avoid mines in the minefield, and I don't know how well he did. I mean, what did you think of his answers about Brock and what he said about Trey and what he said about Darnold? I mean, it seemed like he had very different tones, body language, all of it with each one.
Yeah, I think for Sam, he identifies with Sam's struggle because he struggled as well. I feel like with Brock, he identifies with Brock's skill set because he feels as though that Brock has more to offer athletically than he offers. He was that type of quarterback. And I think he doesn't, I feel like with Trey, Trey represents his lack of knowledge as a quarterback's coach. I think that sometimes as a coach, you are come up with players that expose your knowledge. They make you go back and learn more. They make you say, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Or you can point the finger, you can fold your arms and lean in the corner and answer questions. So there's a couple of things that I've noticed with his comments about Brock is that with Brock, he's very much geared up for Brock to be ready and carry on the work that he's already put out there. And as a first-year quarterback coach, why not? That's on wax. I want to lynch myself to that train. I got 8 years of good quarterback play. I mean, I've got 8 games of good quarterback play in my.
And he gets the credit for like help picking him and developing him. Like he can stand there with his chest puffed out and be like, "Look what I did with Brock."
Right, and
that's all good. Yeah.
To his credit, a lot of coaching is consulting. You do have to ingratiate yourself with the player on a personal level because they have to go out there and carry out the things that you're asking them to do, and that takes trust. I feel like if you're talking about a coach, you're as a rookie coach, you're going to identify with who identifies with you. Right. And I think that it's very easy for Brian to identify himself with Brock, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But
both of their names start with BR. I mean, it's very,
right.
It's very close.
So I see that not only does he believe in Brock as a product, but he believes in Brock emotionally. They
have the same name, Brock Purdy, Brian Griese. It's the same name.
Yeah. With Sam, I feel like with Sam, he just identifies with Sam's struggle, with
Sure.
what Sam has done. You can almost see it in his eyes. Like he damn near cried talking about how wrong Sam has been done and what he's been going through and how he's fine. I mean, and that just speaks to the arrogance of the organization. We feel like we can fix anybody that comes inside of the building. And Sam is just another guy. And Sam being good, is a little bit more than I feel like Sam being good is a little bit more than a reclamation project. Sam being good is almost what they secretly want to do and because they're waiting if and when Brock can't make it. Sam is what they really want to pour into. And with Trey, I thought he was dismissive.
Me too.
I thought that there were a couple of comments, and anybody can go back and watch this interview. But I feel like there were a couple of comments and questions in the way he answered those questions that were quite revealing. So one of the questions was, you had discussions with Trey about one of the questions was, mechanically, he's been working on that with Jeff. Much of a challenge. Hold on. Working on the driver lunch down here.
He was just asked about the mechanical stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so he said that they had discussions with.
I want to get it right, though. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to be right. I want to get it right.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? So he was asked about he was asked about Trey's Jeff Christensen, his mechanics, and he basically touched on Trey basically saying, well, you only address it when you have accuracy or soreness issues, and quarterbacks throw how they throw. For me, Trey's mechanics and developing him was task number one on getting him on the field. So quarterbacks throwing how they throw is not something that you want to hear from a first year or a second year quarterback.
But he also said, like, we've had discussions with him about his mechanics since he got here. And he also says quarterbacks throw how they throw. Like, which one is it?
Yeah.
Which one is it? And how come he had to go to Jeff Christensen to work this out? If you've been having discussions with him about his mechanics since he got here.
Yeah. He also came in behind and kind of gave, like, he kind of gave him a doggy biscuit, and he said, but he's put in the work. I'll give him credit. As almost as if, like, from what I saw versus where he is now, he has put in the work. I mean, and that's just yet another coach who is talking about Trey's development, but they seem like they're late to the party. Every last one of them. Nobody's talking in a proactive disposition when they're talking about Trey's mechanics. Every coach inside of the 49ers has talked in a reactive disposition when they're talking about Trey's mechanics, as if cause and effect, as if something happened and now we see it, which means that you weren't in on it from the beginning. You weren't there. Okay.
He kept working. I mean, I ran out of ideas, but he found this Jeff Christensen guy. He started working with him. I was surprised. Like, I basically gave up on him, but hey, he's back, and we'll see what happens. Like, there's very little ownership, and that's the problem. That's what I think is so unfair for Trey. Is I don't really feel like the quarterback coach is in his corner at all. He was drafted before the quarterback coach got here. And Darnold and Purdy, like, Brian Griese had a hand in both of them being acquired by the Niners, but not Trey.
So there was also another point where he touched on the mechanics, and I feel like he deflected, and how he deflected from the mechanics, because obviously we don't want to talk about work that we can't take credit for. I think the mechanics are overblown because of the injury that he had with his finger. He said he's gotten to the point when he's healthy. A lot of the mechanics stuff is overblown because he had a broken finger. If I had a ball, I'd show you guys how hard it is to hold a ball without your index finger touching the ball. So pause right there. Let's get something straight. Trey Lance's broken index finger couldn't even touch the ball. Right. But here we are looking at every throw. All right. Going through all of the mechanics. Okay. He also touched on a little bit more. He goes, that's incredibly difficult and it's incredibly difficult to and almost impossible to throw a spiral that way. That goes out to all of my Trey Throws Duck fans out there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The wobbly spiral goes. He goes, I'm happy that he's healthy and that he can actually pronate the ball. Okay.
Yeah.
Pronate the ball means that you need to literally turn or hold the ball downward.
Yeah.
He literally could not hold the ball downward. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And throw the ball the way it's meant to be thrown, and that he can actually give himself a chance to compete.
Yep.
What chance have you given him to compete?
Thank you,
Brian.
Yeah. Yeah.
What chance have you given him to compete?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
We're in a partnership, Faithful. We pay our money. We give our attention. We give them our eyes.
Yep.
We gave up 3 first-round picks. You better tell us what happened to our damn quarterback.
Yeah. Thank you. And what's funny is I asked him a question about Brock, and Brian Griese doesn't like me at all. He gives me these really quick, snarky answers. And I said, is Brock better at taking feedback than other young quarterbacks? Is that something that makes him special? And he goes, I don't know. He's the first young quarterback I've ever coached, and leaves it at that. Trey Lance is the first young quarterback you ever coached.
Cherry on top. When asked about Brock and how he takes feedback, Brian Griese goes sheepishly, I don't know. This is the first young quarterback I've ever coached. No, Brian. Trey Lance is the first young quarterback you've ever coached. Mm-hmm. The truth is,
and you were hired to coach. You were hired to coach Trey. That's why you were brought into the organization, not to coach Brock, not to bring in Sam. It was Trey. The whole organization was all in with him last year.
I mean, if you just listen to them, they're letting you know that this kid is radioactive and he's great, but he can get us fired.
Yeah.
This kid can get us fired.
Because we don't know what to do with him. We don't know what to do with him, and we raise the expectations. We're not going to play him right away because we want to develop him the right way. We want to have Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Good job. Mm-hmm.
All right. And as far as fans are concerned, the coaching staff works there. We live here.
Yeah.
Okay? They work there. We live here.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're going to be rooting for this team a lot longer than they're going to be working for it.
Buyouts and roll out.
Yeah, you're going to be rooting for this team a lot longer than they're going to be working for it. I'm going to be covering this team a lot longer than they're going to be working for it. Keep that in mind. So, Brian Griese.
Man. I don't like it. It's like, this is not a quarterback competition. And to call it anything but that is disingenuous, man. What this is you guys are putting a silk hat on a pig. You guys are slapping together all these quarterbacks and making them compete. And because the team is very competitive, it's transferring into the quarterback room. But no, the quarterback room is not on the same level as the rest of this team. The quarterback room needs to be developed.
Also, what they're saying is we don't have to develop Trey Lance anymore because we stumbled upon an elite quarterback. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No, Brock's a great story. He deserves to be here. He looks like a starting quarterback, but you did not stumble upon an elite quarterback, okay? You stumbled upon a younger, cheaper, maybe more mobile version of Jimmy Garoppolo. That was not what you were looking for.
And if you really want to think about it, for all of the people that want to say that Trey got the number one job, Trey got his audition in last year as the week 1 starter. Did he? Jimmy was on the roster week 1.
Yeah.
Did he really get his audition? Was he really the guy?
Yeah, that's true.
Did Trey Lance get the Spencer Burford treatment like Coach Forrester and get his arm wrapped around him and told him, you don't have anything to worry about. There's nobody.
No one looking over your shoulder. No one looking over your shoulder.
The wheels fall off, kid.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the type of dedication we're putting into you. All right. Yep. Did Trey Lance get put on a team that had an all-world defense while they're 6-2, had their starter benched, and then had a coach say, you know what, this kid's from Nevada. I don't care what you say. Yeah. I'm the man. I'm the voice in the room.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hide. I said that I'm gonna make him work. He's gonna work. Yep. Not some quarterback competition. This isn't real.
Yeah. Thank you. Mui says, no slight on Purdy, but Niners fan base is desperate when they give a standing ovation to a guy who played 8 games. Years and chips equals ovations. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
8 games? What are these? Exactly. Like, is this the Commanders?
Raise the conversation, man. That's not who we are.
Yeah. I mean, this is the organization with the best quarterbacks ever, and now they are looking for 8-game saviors. David Montez says, would you guys happen to know if Jimmy G fails another physical, would the Niners lose that comp pick? Thanks, Grant, for your content, and Coach for your knowledge. I don't know. It's a great question. It seems to me if he never actually
I think we get it
is on that.
I think
do
we get
you?
it regardless. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Man, that's good news. Mo says, how much stock do you put in players hanging together outside of facility? Drake and Kalia at Ubisoft, Tabor and Moody, Trey and JJ at Armstead Project. Also better go to tight end U, chemistry plus.
Yeah.
I
think that we need to burn the boats with Trey, man. And you know what? I feel like we're, as a fan base, we're getting caught in a snapshot, a point in time, and we're coveting a team that is already deteriorating. That's what pro sports is. They're not going to be here forever. And we need to see what they're going to do in the moment. Okay.
Jimmy Ward already left. I mean, more guys are going to be going soon.
And there's a precedent for this, for those people who say that this has never been happened. Tony Dungy.
Yeah,
Tony Dungy had a team, all right, that he was very good with, great record, went to the playoffs 4 out of 6 years, and he got shown the door.
Yeah, he did. And what's crazy is, I mean, I feel like there are some serious parallels between Kyle Shanahan and John Gruden. Really. I mean, Kyle Shanahan built this team. Gruden didn't build the Bucs, but essentially it was a defensive team that he took over. The defense was better than the offense. He was kind of a negative, prickly guy. It didn't work long term.
Very eccentric, did a lot of weird things on offense, but could lean on the defense to bail you out. All right. Yeah, I would have to say so. Mo, thank you. Let's talk about Bobby Turner. We don't get to talk about to him very much. Not enough, man. Yeah, I was asking him about maybe the different running backs on the team and his, history running outside zone. He's been running it since the 80s. What did you think of his answers? I'm calling Coach Turner Bobby Winners. He's the Tex Winners of this offensive outside inside zone scheme. I thought that, first of all, it felt good to see a coach that doesn't get a lot of fanfare to almost be a little bit of bashful at the attention. I really liked how he responded to the questions, because he got a chance to answer questions and give insight for the type of guy, and a guy like that, he would only give that type of insight if he was asked. He's not he doesn't give off a boastful type of vibe. And it almost felt good. Like, I felt like we were given a history lesson. And it's really good to go back and understand. He's the straw that stirs the drink, so to speak. I really like the fact that some of the kernel contributors to this scheme have nothing to do with X's and O's, right? And that's one of our biggest problems. Jimmy's and Joe's over X's and O's, man. Okay? It's about who you put on the field, not what's being dialed up. Because when you start going after tenths of a second, it's about the driver, man. It ain't about what type of who's calling the game. It ain't about that. That's not football.
Right.
That's not football. And one of the things that's emblematic to that discussion is how Bobby Turner specifically pointed out what he does not like. And he doesn't like how the inside and outside zone running scheme gets the moniker of rinse and repeat. Any running back can be fit into this scheme. And I feel like a lot of that is because we look at where the running backs come from. A lot of them are undrafted, unheralded guys, and they come in with great success. But I feel like specifically one of the reasons why he said that he doesn't like that is because there is a feel. There is a marriage to how the running back runs with the ball to a service. He's not trying to gain yards. He's trying to make everybody else right. It's an 11 on 11 pursuit. And he also talked about how there's a certain type of feel that goes above. He took a little jab at analytics that goes above analytics. It is an eye. It is an experience. It is reps. To his words, it's a marriage that you have to understand about, almost to the point where, if you noticed, he poured water on Kalen DeBoer. He when he asked about Kalen DeBoer, he said, "Oh, he's a rookie. We don't really want to talk about it.
I'm not going to pump his head up. Like he's done nothing. He's an OTAs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Coach Turner is one of those guys where if you're in a party and you find somebody sitting in the corner by himself, he's that guy. And he's going to give you a wealth of knowledge and way more than what you bargained for. I think that in a lot of organizations, sometimes we can look at a scheme or we can look at a head coach, but a lot of times there are men who are just beating along the way who don't want the recognition and are very married to the work. He's one of those guys.
One of the things I think is so interesting about the Niners and kind of explains who they are as a team is look who their running back coach is, look who their quarterback coach is. They're opposites. Like Bobby Turner is a career teacher coach. He didn't just decide at 50-something years old, hey, I might want to give that a shot.
It's in him.
It's in him. He's been doing this for a very, very long time. So not only, he's developed a lot of running backs. Hall of Famers, and he can do it again. And he's not just a running back scout and coach. He's also he's the architect of this outside zone stuff. He's been doing it longer than the Shanahans. They've never done it without him.
Never.
He's that important. And then you got Brian Griese over here who's dabbling in coaching. Used to play. His dad was Bob Griese, so he has the pedigree, but it's a whole different thing. He's never developed a quarterback in his life, and neither did Scangarello, neither did Shane Day. Kyle just doesn't have the Bobby Turner of quarterbacks. He's got a great O-line coach, D-line coach, the best running back coach I've ever seen. But man, he is still searching for that quarterback coach.
Yeah, I feel like the passing game is something that kind of escapes the Shanahan enclave, if you will. Mike really didn't develop anybody on his own, and everybody that he developed eventually fizzled out. If you look at the success that they have had, it's been with mature, older quarterbacks who are already developed. And one could even
Same with Gruden.
Yes.
Same with Gruden. Gruden was Gannon and Brad Johnson, sorry.
Yes, and if you look at just the arc of where passing was then versus how common passing is now, one could even say, how much development is Brock Purdy really getting?
Yeah.
Is Brock Purdy already a finished product? Right?
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, what has this team done, this coaching staff done with quarterbacks that can help Brock Purdy from what we've seen in 8 games?
They've already said they can't do anything with mechanics. They talk about it, but they outsource the entire endeavor of. So, they can. What they can do is they can give you Christian McCaffrey, they can give you George Kittle, they can give you the best defense, and they can give you some good plays.
We can find,
but they're not going to actually improve your skill set.
Yeah, so
they're not going to refine it.
And I feel like again, tenths of a second, we're not talking about the entire race. All right.
Yeah.
What have they done in the quarterback room? If you really think about it, how did Jimmy get better since he was here?
He didn't. He got better with when the team got better around him. They brought Emmanuel Sanders in when they brought Christian McCaffrey, and that's what helped. Debo.
Yeah. Jimmy's best stretch of playing was
his first stretch.
Arguably our best roster, which was this past year.
Well, yeah. And he also, he started off 5-0. He didn't know the offense.
So, my thing is that I feel like we need to kind of wipe the lens and question everything because we're in business with these guys. They're all right. That's what it is. All right. And our business partner spent an exorbitant amount of assets on a piece of equipment. And he's trying to tell us that we can move on to something that's less cheaper. And that's much more, that gives us just as much as performance. But he doesn't want to have the meeting about all of the money that he spent on the other asset. And that's malfeasance. We need to talk about that. All right.
Yeah.
We need to have a conversation.
Also, and again, if you're watching, go back and watch the Bobby Turner interview, go back and watch the Brian Griese interview and compare them as coaches, how they talk, how they could one person lead a lecture for an hour about their subject and could one person not? The way Brian Griese avoids questions and
he looked like he was talking about his golf swing. leaning in the corner. Like, what are you doing?
Also, Brian Griese likes to talk about himself, and everyone knows it. So the first 4 or 5 questions are always about like, hey, so what'd you think of your first year coaching? And it's like, dude, you're in service of these players. Why are we talking about you? Why are you talking about yourself? It's not about you anymore, man. You used to be a player. You used to be an announcer. Now you're in service of Trey Lance, and you're over here being like, oh, I don't know. It's like, like Bobby Turner has a clear freaking vision of what he has and what he needs to do. And you got Brian Griese figuring out as he goes along. And then you also have 2 of Gary Kubiak's kids. Nothing against nepotism. I mean, look at me. But, like, is that really good enough? You don't have Gary Kubiak. You don't. Yeah. You don't. And even Gary Kubiak didn't develop anyone. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
Even he didn't.
I mean, Gary Kubiak is a talented guy, but he's a part of the enclave. He was a career backup, got elevated through the system, showed professionalism, got a gig, lost it, came back to Denver, retired. The end.
And then he got a head coaching gig in Houston, and him and Kyle Shanahan propped up Matt Schaub for a few years. Great. Did they win a Super Bowl? No. He won a Super Bowl. Season. He won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, if I remember correctly. Kubiak.
Who? Yeah.
Kubiak with Peyton Manning. And that's the thing. If you give Kyle Peyton Manning in his prime,
hold on, was that
I'm sure
Kyle or Kubiak?
Was Kubiak not the offensive coordinator? Let me see. 2015
Broncos.
Broncos.
I think so, yeah.
He was, right? If you give Mike or Kyle or Kubiak a Hall of Fame quarterback, even if they're a little bit past their prime, it'll work. But you give them a young quarterback, I don't think it works. They can't develop them. They've never done it.
No, they need a guy. Honestly speaking, if you go over the track record, and this is just the facts, the only sustained success or real success that is going to happen in this offense is you need a guy who comes ready-made. And he needs to be in his 30s, and he needs to already have success and temperament under his belt. That's
right.
What
you just don't have the quarterback coach or the head coach maybe to pull off the young quarterback, at least not so far. With Bobby Turner, you don't. Now, he did gush about Christian McCaffrey. He was like, I wish I had this guy. I have a feeling that the trade for Christian McCaffrey, I have a feeling he was pushing for it, which is interesting.
I think that was an apology for what they did while he was gone.
Yep. Hey, sorry we drafted Ty Davis Price in round 3 without your consult. I don't know what we were thinking, but what do you need? Oh, you need us to trade for Christian? Okay, we'll do it. He was right.
I feel like, just as fans and supporters, like, they gaslit us. They threw it right back on us. It's like, you know what? If we say 2 words, quarterback competition, that will throw everything off. Then everybody will be upset. And it's like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What about the third pick overall? What happened to that?
It's a distraction. Like, so all of a sudden, Trey and Sam Darnold are totally even and it doesn't matter that you mortgage the future for one and you got one off the scrap heap. Now you're just going to go meritocracy, right?
Hold on, and let's go another, because let's do another for the naysayers. The reason why we wanted to go for Trey and get rid of Jimmy is for the cap, because we needed to keep all these players, and if we were going to that's why we went up to get Trey. Since when do you spend 3 first-round picks to save cap space? If that's what you were going to do, you could have stood pat and got Mac Jones at 12.
Correct. That's not what that trade was about. The trade was not about saving money. It was about changing the skill set.
We didn't go do that.
No, Sean says, I just want to say coach is very intuitive and perceptive as it pertains to player, people, and coach psychology. If you have kids, they are blessed.
Not
yet. Matthew Sanders says Ted Lasso spinoff idea. Kyle fails in SF and goes to coach soccer in Leeds. Hijinks ensue, except everyone hates Kyle and his demotivational style. Demotivational. Yeah, man.
Let me say that about that. In our worst moments during games, in our frustrating moments, picks, turnovers, when have we ever seen Kyle wrap his arm around somebody on the sideline?
Never. It's a good point. Barry Baller
grow, man.
I agree. Harbaugh used to do it. Yeah. Barry Baller 18 says, what have you seen from the rookie tight ends? Braden Willis is a natural receiver. He gets open, has good hand-eye coordination. Latu, not that kind of player. He's huge. They're going to be using him a lot as a blocker on run plays, and I can't wait to see what it looks like with him and Kittle next to each other. think you're going to see a lot of that. Him and Kittle next to each other on the outside zone. And maybe that's why they're not worried as much about right tackle, because he won't really be at the point of attack. It's more going to be Latu and Kittle. I'm curious to see what that looks like.
You know how I feel about Cameron.
Elias Soto says Lance blew his chance. Purdy didn't. Wow.
There was no chances.
He broke his ankle. Louis says we're in the era of SS quarterbacks. BP fanatics have no excuse for delusions of grandeur. Does he look like Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow? Man, you got to stop with the Josh Allen. Because keep in mind, that's the money he'll get if he stays and the roster goes.
Yeah.
Right. So if you really telling me he's elite, so you're saying that he's going to be worth that kind of money someday? All right. Let's go defense. Chris Kaserick held court for like a half an hour.
Yes.
Spoke about Drake Jackson's for almost 8 minutes. And everything he said was a compliment. But the way I took it was the implication is that whatever he was doing last year was not good enough.
That wasn't it.
And for them to say, they're basically saying he's a lot stronger and more professional this year. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that he's necessarily strong or professional yet compared to starters in the NFL. How did you take what Chris Kaserick said about Drake?
I think it was sobering. I feel like he is the type of person where he doesn't tell you the truth for plausible deniability, where he's not the type of guy where you can say, well, I told you the truth. Mm-hmm. He's more of the coach where he plainly states what he means, and I'm not going to repeat myself. Part of that, I loved how he talked to Drake plainly about where he stood in his development and his progression and what he expected of him. And he said, I didn't motivate him. I didn't give him a big speech. I didn't go out of my character. I told him what he needed. And as I got prepared for my offseason schedule, I expected to see Drake in the weight room doing what he needs to be doing.
And he said stuff like not one day a week.
Yeah.
Every day, which was like, oh, wow. Dude.
And what that says to me is that there is a standard, there's a standard inside of that D-line room that's higher than the standard for this team. Yeah. He has his own standard for his defensive linemen. So I feel that's something that he messaged very clearly. I think that he gave him a little bit of praise. He gave him a little bit of meat to gnaw on, but not enough. Because he's got a long way to go. I think that for Drake Jackson's frame, he can put on more weight. He can get a lot stronger. And I feel like he was stern with Drake. However, he didn't hide him. He didn't carry his water. He let it be known that he had some things that were undesirable in his track. He mentioned fast food, diet, making sure that yes, he did. That's something that piqued my interest. One of the big things that I noticed with O-line coaches, whenever they mention food, they're talking about weight issues. All right. They're talking about strength. They're talking about recovery. They're talking about one of the biggest indicators of how he likes to scout is GTFO, getting off the line. That's something where when you and I talked about is one of the reasons why you train like a Nick Bosa is because you're going to have to play to a level where your body takes over and you're no longer thinking about it anymore. That's how tired these guys get on the field, okay? Where your first rep got to look like your last rep, okay? And the level of intensity cannot drop off. And what happens is that when you get on that level of pro athleticism, you're not picking and choosing when to have a good rep. You're always up top.
And Drake is far from there, or was.
And you have a reserve that you're pulling from to keep you up top, right?
Especially because the games are decided in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. If your mind...
That's why Jerry Rice ran the hill.
Exactly. And simply put, if your mind can tell you you're tired before your body can, you're not in shape. You're not a pro athlete. Okay. So if you can think about how tired you are before your body actually breaks down, you're not in shape. Okay. And right now, Drake thinks about being tired a lot. And the weakest thing to go, the first thing to go when you get tired is your mind. And it's hard for you to think and it's hard for you to be a pro. So
which means you can't play.
Which means you cannot play. Right. So I think
you might be able, but the thing with Drake is that you might be able to play on some third downs. Like there should be a package. If he's a good pass rusher, they should be able to use him strategically. But I don't even know if he's a good pass rusher. I don't know.
Right. And then again, just like everything, this is football. He needs reps. So you can't get all of these curated, pampered ass reps where it's like, all right, go out there, Drake. Go ahead and do that move that we worked on for a week. No, that's not football. He's got
also, I gotta say, I saw him on the field. He definitely looked bigger, but then I saw him at the podium. He doesn't look super cut up, man. He looks like he put on weight, but I don't know like how much of it is good weight. And then also, like Chris Kaserick mentioned the numbers he's lifting. Like, look, I'm not a big lifter. I lift a little bit, but he said he's benching 315 2 to 3 times.
2 to 3 times, yeah. All right,
look,
so
I'm not a power lifter, but it seems like there's probably high school kids that could do that at his size.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So
no offense.
What I will say this. Coach Kaserick did give a caveat to that. Yeah. And the caveat is that the athleticism at his size has always kept him on the field.
For sure.
He's always been a highly
He can do backflips, right?
Yes.
He can do backflips. Yeah,
he's always been a highly sought after athlete. And the thing about it is that, let's be honest, the rules and regs on football has changed. It's just different now. It is very different. We got 220-pound kids getting drafted at linebacker. 10 years ago, that was not a thing.
Never happening. No.
That was not a thing. And
your safety.
And sometimes we may have to go back and look at, when you hear those numbers, I'm in my late 30s, bro. You know what I'm saying? I graduated in 03. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I can recall very vividly going to college camps, Georgia Tech, Georgia, and it being clear as day on the weight room, on the wall, that all linemen must bench 400 pounds. All linemen must bench 400 pounds.
Just to get on the field.
Just to get on the field. And that's, we got strength and conditioning tests, and they want you hitting certain numbers, especially if you weigh a certain amount. So I will say that what he's shown has got him here thus far. I would be interested to know what maybe Aaron Banks had to do in the weight room. It's not uncommon, for what these guys are asked to do now. They're asked to be a little bit more light in the ass, if you ask me. So,
well, here's one thing. Like, remember one player I remember who had no strength that I kind of wrote off for this and ended up being a really good player? Tyrann Mathieu. Do you remember how many reps he put up at the combine of 225?
4, yeah.
And I was thinking, like, how do you get through LSU like that? How did you do that? Because you're a baller. Because you're really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you get with guys where, and then another thing. This has to be said, and I'm kind of upset that I didn't mention this first. Drake changed a lot of positions when he was at USC. Yeah. He had a lot of weight fluctuations. It was asked to do a lot of different things. And when you are asked to play a lot of different positions, it is hard to set into that. I get to lift and be at a certain body weight and compound all those years of training. So if you spend a year losing 30 pounds in the offseason, you're not getting strong.
That's not good. Right. That's a good point. Strong. So they set him back.
Yeah.
Their coaching instability set him back.
Right. And with that, I want to draw context. So yes, he is getting stronger to the level of standard that we have inside of our defensive line room. However, I don't think they're shocked by that. I think they knew coming in that he had to get his man body. And that's what he's doing.
But what Kaserick also said was, he mentioned how young players make their biggest leap between years 1 and years 2. He kind of slyly threw in there sometimes between years 2 and years 3, which is I get the feeling they're looking at Drake being like, look, we still like you, but you're still really young and you might be another year away. So Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, Robert Beal Jr., like those guys are in play. And Drake Jackson, he might be more of a rotational player this year than a 3-down starter. I mean, I actually don't expect him to be a 3-down starter.
And I'm not mad at that at all. And if you really look at it, it's so, if you look at, let's just go back to what you said. Go back and look at Brian versus Bobby. Look at Coach Kaserick. It's the same thing. He's not trying to crush the kid's confidence. He's rolling him out the right way. He's wrapping his arm around him. He's owning how
saying he's a starter. You're the starter, man. Yeah.
He's not sitting here talking about, well, he's competing for his job.
Nope.
Or I'm happy that he's finally gotten to the point where he can compete. Or
I'm surprised he stopped eating. I'm surprised he stopped eating McDonald's. I mean, I really wrote him off. He seemed like a knucklehead.
Like, oh man, like, and then another thing, Brian. Oh, well, what'd you think about Trey Lance's injury? It was gruesome. I mean, it was gruesome. I mean, one of the things that I could really credit Trey for is how he really bounced back and didn't just mope around. He really helped the team. He didn't, he really owned his role and like really owned it. So basically you're trying to say is I really respect Trey for blowing up his ankle and not being a party pooper.
Right.
Basically coming around and making sure that you didn't make it weird. Right.
Yeah. He could have been mad at us for running him up the middle, but he wasn't.
But he didn't. So he's cool for that.
Great. That's the nicest thing you can say about him.
Go back and look at that interview and look at the real reaction he had about Trey's injury. He lost composure. He goes, it was gruesome. No shit.
Yeah. No, we know that. Thank you. Niners Daddy says, when will Kyle and Lynch be held accountable for Trey? Well, this is something you brought up on a stream a couple of days ago of mine. You wrote in, who holds Kyle accountable in this organization?
Do we have oversight?
It's not John Lynch.
It's not John.
It's not Jed York. Is it? I mean, is it John York? But he only comes when the team is, 2 games under 500.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. That's a good question. I think maybe they might need some oversight for the head coach. Chris, Grant, how many air yards was Trey Lance 40-yard pass at OTAs? 40. 40. It was a deep pass, and he caught it like right as he was going out of bounds. It was beautiful. Mui says, can you block someone permanently? You should block at Jay Mill for his comment about coach. I wasn't even looking at it. Yeah, I'll block Jay Mill. I'll check it out. I got him. Mo says, Purdy threw to CMC 22% of throws, which tied Ayuk with the most. CMC bails every quarterback he had out. He's not running deep concepts for us. He's a running back. Come on. Yeah, man. CMC makes you look good. He makes those checkdowns look good.
Yeah.
All right, last topic, and then I'm going to go ban that J Mill dude.
Okay.
So I asked about Javon Kinlaw, and to me, the answer he gave about Kinlaw was way different than what he said about Drake Jackson. Drake Jackson, he's basically saying like, yeah, he's starting to get it, what it takes to be a pro. With Javon Kinlaw, he didn't say anything like that. He's like, man, the guy is finally having his first full off season in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for him. I mean, obviously the knee is an issue, but it sounds like he's healthy now. And he also was a project. He came into the league with high pad level, like D'Amico talked about it. And you'd think like maybe that's something he could fix away from the field, but I don't think so. I think you need to be in practice every day, doing it correctly. And he hasn't had the opportunity. There was a pandemic. He got a knee surgery. I mean, like he hasn't been in practice in these off seasons. So now he is. It's possible if his knee holds up that he could make strides because it's not like you've seen him with his shirt off. It's not like you have to worry about him eating Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. I really like Javon because whenever you hear him talk, you could see how bad he wants it. You can see just how bad he wants to play. And I understand that doesn't really amount to anything. Everybody wants to play. But he was a first-round pick. And it does feel good. I feel like in a way, not only does he want to prove himself, but I feel like in a way he feels like he's indebted to the development that he has gotten from the 49ers. The 49ers took a pick on him. And I do feel like he has been calibrating, trying to figure out the consistency of the knee, right? I feel like there were setbacks with the knee. Then it got a little healthy. And then now we're into a point where he's gotten to the point where he's calibrated his weight in order to make sure that the knee can stay sustained for over a longer period of time.
Right.
I don't think that Javon on his face. All right. So Javon without the knee.
Yeah.
Javon is a very good player.
Yeah.
Without the knee. Okay.
Right.
When I do see Javon get in trouble on the field, it's technique issues where he is relying on just how god awful big and strong he is, and he needs to keep his pad level low. That's something that reps can take care of. But also there are plays and instances that I've seen from Javon where when you get a player that you're expecting to play as much and he doesn't, and he's so big, you almost get frustrated when he's not Tarzan on the field, right?
Yeah.
And he's not showing that type of strength that we see all the time.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of that stuff is because Javon has been playing hurt. He's been trying his best to do the best with a knee that's just not been cooperating with him.
Right.
And this is a locker room or a team where sharks are born swimming. We don't just hang on to nobodies. That is not this team. Right.
Right.
And the fact that one of our colonel coaches, who is probably one of the most important coaches that we have, is wrapping his arm around him and sees encouraging signs from Javon. That's promising, right? Because if you think about it, if Javon is what he's supposed to be, we don't have to go get Javon Hargraves. We don't have to go do that.
Right.
Right. So right now, I feel like they got him. If we're talking from a coaching perspective, they got him right where they want him. They got him humble, hungry,
in a contract year. Absolutely.
Yeah, they got, like, if we're talking about the coaching side of it, we got him. We got him right where we want him. Right.
And it's like he's got a lot in common with Trey Lance in the sense that maybe he was overdrafted a little bit. You know, the organization put a ton of expectations on him. This guy was supposed to replace DeForest Buckner.
Yeah. That's not fair.
Yeah. So he was put in a tough situation. Like, did Javon Kinlaw fail or did he just get injured? I mean, did Trey Lance fail or did he just get injured? Like, and so now you get into this year where you're a first round pick and you're approaching the end of your rookie contract and you haven't done what you wanted to do and you're like a disappointment, but at the same time, you're still here and you've kind of gotten written off, but you're still here. And all of a sudden you're healthy and you're in camp every day. It's like your story's not over yet. You haven't. So I'm curious to see what Javon does this year. Like, he could randomly be super important and durable for them this year.
You never know.
You never know.
You pull for in the middle of. You never know. So
and no one thought Brock Purdy was going to bail this team out last year. Who's going to bail him out this year? Could be Javon.
Yeah. So I'm happy. I'm happy for Javon because I feel like the only thing that's been in his way is that knee, and that basically it. I think he's ready.
Yeah, like when I saw him in one-on-ones, like going back to his rookie year, I could tell he wasn't winning them. And I felt like I didn't want to write him off. I was like, okay, so this is a guy who doesn't have much pass rushing technique, but he's got Kaserick. So all he needs is time on task. Just give him a bunch of practices in a row, but he's never had that. And that's what Kaserick was talking about. He didn't have the full off season his rookie year because of the pandemic. Then he had knee surgery and missed it his second year. Then he had a setback and missed it his third year. Like, you're just not going to improve in those situations. Now he has an opportunity to do it.
I agree. And there's a player comparison for Javon Kinlaw, Kentavious Street, which was another big, strong guy that we really were depending on to do big things for us, but he can never get healthy.
Right. And that's a guy that was injured when they took him. It was like you knew what you were getting into.
Same thing.
Eyes wide open.
Injured when he took him. So we've done this
But that's
before.
where you take an injured player. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You put so much pressure on a young player when you overdraft him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So much. I mean, I bet Kinlaw's in therapy. We know Trey's in therapy.
Yeah.
You put your player in therapy when you overdraft him.
I mean,
because he's the one that deals with the pressure.
And then you're building plausible deniability with the fake quarterback competition with one guy injured, one guy coming off an injury, and a retread who's learning the offense. But it's a competition. Stop. Stop.
And you have your offensive line coach saying it's really important for us to tell our young, inexperienced starters on the O-line, no one over your shoulder. Rock with you till the wheels fall off. I mean, you have the O-line coach saying it, and Brian Griese can't figure that out. Clint Kubiak can't figure that out. Kyle Shanahan can't figure that out. At the most important position, the logic is the same. Those are the two most important. Those are the two most difficult positions to play on offense.
All three of them boys is built-in excuses for this coaching staff.
That's right. That's right. They're in a position this year if they show out and win, a lot. They're like, wow, look what we did with a ridiculous quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Or
and
we had a ridiculous quarterback situation.
And what they'll do is they'll trot him out there, they'll struggle, and then they'll throw him to us to kill. They'll throw them to us to rip the shreds.
And all the content creators. Yep.
And nobody
because there's all these camps. There's all these camps. There's the Brock camp, the Sam camp, the Trey camp, and every camp's waiting for their guy to get a chance. They'll defend him. Then the other camps will attack him. Yeah. And again, it's so no one goes after the coach.
Yeah. It's a bait and switch. And nobody's ever going to say, wait a minute. Aren't you the genius?
Yeah.
Hold on. So when do you let us know what you did? Why are you throwing? Well, I'm not the expert. I feel like 49ers fans should just let Kyle answer the quarterback question. We should just stop having segments on who do you think the starter is. Kyle should know. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not a pro.
You tell me, Kyle. You're the one in practice every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what he's telling us is he doesn't know. It's either Brock Purdy or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We spent 3 first-round picks for a kid. We got a guy in the 7th round, and then we just picked up another kid. And Kyle told us that, by week 1, the kid that's hurt should be ready. And the other 2 kids I think they're competing for quarterback 2. But we got a window, bro. We're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Because quarterback doesn't matter. I'm the quarterback.
Kyle Shanahan's the starting quarterback of this
Just
team.
think of me as the quarterback.
It's this, my frustration is coming from the fact that it's just disingenuous. And it's a low-hanging fruit argument. It's divisive. It has us against people arguing with each other about stuff that really shouldn't have anything to do with us. We shouldn't have to bear this burden. We don't get paid millions.
We have content creators ending friendships and working relationships over this quarterback thing that Kyle Shanahan started. Kyle Shanahan is indirectly ending friendships. It's his fault.
He's just, all I'm saying is just man, he's got to risk his biscuit, man. No more of this. I'm sitting back to weigh the issues because with more options, Kyle Shanahan is such an operator of his off. No.
Pick
it
one.
Don't work that way.
Pick one.
You need to, attach your
and again, the whole thing with the quarterbacks and the offensive linemen, the reason you need to pick one and say no one's over your shoulder and we're rocking with you till the wheels fall off is because it's such a difficult position to play. Really, young players shouldn't be good at it in the NFL. So where you have to have a ton of confidence to even have a chance to be good at those positions. So it doesn't help to have the coach set up a situation that just erodes your confidence before you even start. Hey, we don't really believe in you, so go see what you got.
These are the coaches, those head coaching and quarterback tandems. Is Kyle gonna? Let's just look at history. Is Kyle better than Bill Walsh?
Is he ever going to tie himself to a quarterback for 10 years?
Tom Landry?
No.
Don Shula? Tony Dungy? Mike Tomlin, who we see week 1?
Yeah.
So
what great quarterback is constantly shuffling through? What great coach is constantly shuffling through quarterbacks?
Who's doing it?
Who does it?
Who's doing it?
Now, Joe Gibbs did it 40 years ago and won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different coaches, but I don't know. Kyle's not Joe Gibbs. And Joe Gibbs couldn't do it anymore. No one's done it anymore.
That's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh Wyatt says, you predicted the pump. This is what it looks like. Are you really going to be surprised by the dump? Plan A and B are obviously Brock. Hold on. You telling me the pump looks like starting Sam Darnold in front of the media and not explaining it? That's terrible, man. That's again, hurting his trade value if he has any. They suck at the pump and dump.
And just to answer this, the pump is giving them way too much credit. The pump would actually constitute that they actually know what they're doing and they know who to pump. They're just saying that there's a competition out there, and we're just going to let the chips fall where they may because we don't want to hitch our wagon behind a guy that's going to lose. We want to stay in the profit. We want to stay in the judgmental seat. We're watching this just like you are. No, we are not. You are on the
and
sidelines.
It's they don't want to make a decision either. Hey, we didn't pick a quarterback. He won. There was a competition. He won. We started him. I didn't make a decision, and I wasn't wrong. He was wrong.
And then the truth is hiding in plain sight. We have Trey that's supposed to be his inaugural season last year, and we got a 16-player council to ask if it's okay to bring Jimmy back. Yeah. So we had to get 16 players together to make that decision. When are they going to make a decision? Yeah.
Yeah. We got Dustin Dag saying random off topic. I could see Frank Gore becoming the next Bobby Turner. I'm telling you that he would be more like the next Brian Griese, or a former player who just decides he wants to coach one day. Bobby Turner, man, he was coaching at Kokomo Hayworth in 1972. Okay, he was immediately assistant coach. He was a player. He's born in 1949. He was a player at Indiana State. He went undrafted in 1972. Immediately went into coaching that freaking year. Been coaching since 1972.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is his life.
It's his life. 72, man. That's more than 50 years coaching.
Yeah. That's what's on our coaching staff.
He's not just a natural, man. He is the most experienced coach ever left in the league. What a freaking asset. Mo says Orlovsky week predicted Darnold to start. A lot of people predicted Darnold to start. And when you listen to Brian Griese, I understand why. Because you might think, if you listen to Brock Purdy talk, you're thinking, I don't think he's going to start.
I don't know anything.
Yeah. And you listen to Brian Griese and everyone talk about Darnold, man, they can't stop hyping him up. And then you hear him talk about Trey Lance. They don't have anything concrete nice to say other than he's a really nice guy, man. Boy, he could have been pissed at us for how we've totally ruined his career, but he's been pretty cool about it.
Yeah. I mean, admit that the kid may have a skill set that you can't coach up.
Yeah. And if that's the case, let him go. That's what I don't understand. They keep trying to imply like, look, man, I don't want to ruin this kid, but what we're seeing isn't great. Why is he on the team still?
Because you can have a quarterback competition, but you can't hide letting the third overall pick go within the first 3 years of him being on the team.
Right. But to me, like if you were so certain in your evaluation that he's no good and Sam Darnold's better and Brock Purdy's better, then let him go. Because there's no risk of him going to another team and being good because you're right about him.
I see the point you're trying to make.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and you're right. And so like, who cares? I'll trade him for a 7th round pick. He sucks. We tried. We were just wrong. But the Niners know that there's a very real possibility that they don't know what they're looking at and that they don't know how to coach him and that he could go somewhere else and succeed. And that terrifies them. So what they're doing is basically acknowledging they don't know what the hell they're doing at quarterback.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah. Because if they really this is a team where they look at roster spots like first class seats. Like to be on this team, you got to have worth. They're not just going to have you here. And the fact that they won't move him and they want a certain amount for him is almost emblematic of them knowing like, look, he ain't nothing. We not okay.
We have failed this kid. Yeah, we can't do this.
We just can't get there with him.
We're a bad fit for this kid.
The last thing I'm gonna do is watch this kid do this shit across the sidelines. We can't live that down.
Because Jed will allow us to pivot to Brock Purdy if Trey Lance truly isn't any good. Like we should lose our jobs for mortgaging the future for Trey Lance and not doing anything with him, but we won't because we lucked into Brock Purdy. But if Trey Lance ends up being special somewhere else and Brock Purdy, isn't, then we're all fired. We're all fired. And we don't work anymore. Like we never get these positions anymore because we're all outed as frauds.
And if Brock's the guy, so be it, because we all on the same team by week 1 anyway. But if Brock's the guy, I'm calling bullshit if they don't say that he's the unheralded guy for week 1, because that's what you sold us on. You sold us on a week 1 starter. So if Brock starts week 1, by hook or crook, he should be the starting quarterback. And if he struggles and you start hearing people chirping for Trey Lance or Sam Darnold, then you have to admit that we have no quarterback. We didn't want a starting quarterback to begin with. The quarterback competition was just to stave us over the offseason so nobody's job can be in question. And that we're leaning on our roster and not the lack of development that we have at the quarterback position.
Right. So it's not the quarter. Yeah, the conversation isn't, boy, the Niners have no quarterback. It's, boy, they have 3 quarterbacks, and they're just trying to figure out which one they have right now.
Look how much they're winning with all of this chaos at quarterback. I mean, Jesus, you can't predict anybody getting hurt. Except all the young quarterbacks that Kyle Shanahan has had have been hurt.
And Kyle Shanahan gets credit for making it far with no quarterback and having a no solution at quarterback in year 7. But all it takes is one down year. If they go 7-10 this year and miss the playoffs and they go through their quarterbacks again, people are going to say, you know what? Do we really need to see year 8 of Kyle Shanahan fumbling around for a quarterback, unable to find one? Like, at what point does he get the Tony Dungy treatment and say, you know what, dude? You're a good coach, but you're going to miss your Super Bowl window, and we're not going to let that happen. Like, we don't want all these great players to retire. Like, this needs to happen now, and we need to change the voice because, it worked for them. That's essentially what got the Bucs a Super Bowl, was changing voices.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I mean, I thank Kyle for getting the team together, but you don't own this team, bro. You coach it.
No.
So start coaching it.
Thank you. Dustin Dagg says, or at least the next Tom Rathman. That's a fair comparison. Rathman went into coaching and was an excellent coach. Coach Frank Gore. Mm-hmm. Mo says Trey needs the ATL playbook, not the Purdy one. Another thing that's unfair for Trey is they're not installing any quarterback runs. It's like they're installing the Brock Purdy offense and saying, Okay, let's see who can run it better, Sam or Trey.
I feel like that's us shitting and stepping back in it. I like that, Grant.
Okay.
And the reason why I like that is because I don't want Trey. I want Trey to truly be developed. And Trey's problem is that he has problem with making the easy look easy. He has problem with layups, and we can't.
Not in this camp. Not in this camp. Hey, the good news is so far he's hitting them. Him and Darnold are both hitting them. I don't know. It feels like when you have Christian McCaffrey, all of a sudden the layups are a lot easier. Like the rim gets wider all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got to finish our breakfast, man.
I love it, man. All right, that's the show. Thanks for watching. Hell of a coaches meeting. Kyle, I hope you watched. There's a lot at stake for you this year. I'll be back at 3 with my Pops Cone Zone Special Friday edition. Good stuff, Coach.
Thanks.
See you guys.